Thomas tells a story. One night, Thomas and Edward and Percy had tipped their sheds. They were resting for the night, but they couldn't sleep much because they had a hard time going to sleep. So Thomas decided to tell a story. Who had just suggested to tell a story. I think I could tell a story. Yes, you should, Thomas, said Percy. It has to be good, though. Right, said Edward. That's right, said Edward. It has to be a very good story. I've got one, said Thomas. And don't worry, this one's going to be really good. Before Thomas could tell his story, Sonic and Knuckles came to see them. They come to hear about Thomas's story, about how he first came to the island. Oh, hello there, Thomas. Hello there, Sonic, said Thomas. Hello there, Thomas. I hear you're going to tell us a story. What is it? Then Thomas explained his history when he used to work on the LBSE railway in England. That's awesome, Thomas. Maybe you should just tell us your history. Thomas beamed and smiled. Of course, Sonic. I'll tell you all. Just then, the Flying Scotsman came. Hello, everyone. I've come to the sheds. Since Gordon's away, I decided to have his birth. I see, said Percy. You're just in time. Thomas is going to tell us a story. Oh, excellent, said Flying Scotsman. He was excited. Well, anyways, this is the story I'm going to tell you. A long, long time ago, when I used to work on the London, Brighton, South Coast Railway, I was a different engine. I was painted dark teal green with the number 70 with the LBSC on my side. I had many other brothers, but I don't know their names really. I couldn't remember their names, but they looked just like me. One of them was 107, and it was the LBSE brown livery. Wow, said Edward. You were a different engine back then. Maybe that's how you came to Sodor. I remember the fat controller saying something about another engine, and that was you. That's right, Edward, said Thomas. That was me. Wow, Thomas, that's very interesting. I never knew that. Yeah, said Knuckles. If we were there, we would take photos of you and show it to the fat controller. Well, it wasn't easy though, Knuckles, said Thomas. And besides, I didn't even come to Sodor at that time. It was way back in 1985 or something like that, said Thomas. Wow. We probably didn't even exist, said Sonic. Of course, Sonic, we would never exist that time. Or at least we wouldn't. Well, anyways, but yeah, quite right there. You guys weren't even exist yet, said Thomas. Well, actually, Thomas, said Edward, when I first came to the island, it was only me, Henry, Gordon, and James came after before you. He was a different engine as well. He was painted black. That's right, Edward. And then when the fire control said something about needing a new engine, it was me. But I was a quite different engine that time, and I was a station pilot. And you were so eager to pull your own train at it, Edward? Thomas blushed for a moment. Yes, I wanted to do that, he chuckled. But anyways, ever since I helped James from his accident, I've been given my own branch line, all thanks to Sir Topham Hatt. Wow, said Percy. So that's how you got your branch line. But, said Thomas, when I went to Fagua, I met up with an engine named Glenn, the coffee pot engine. He told me that he used to work on my branch line before I ever came. That's awesome, Thomas. You know, I heard about that engine. The Fracastrola told me about him. He's a coffee pot engine, if I remember correctly. Yes, indeed, Sonic, said Thomas. That's it. He was a coffee pot engine. He was the number one, and he used to look after my branch line before I even came. And Judy Jerome was one of my newer friends as well, who I used to rescue James from his accident. And now Judy and Jerome are not on the siding anymore, said Percy. They work at the Howard. Judy and Jerome are now needed at Hardwick now. Oh yes, Judy and Jerome had been on that siding for many years, but ever since the Fracastrola made a new branch line called Hardwick Branch Line, they've been used ever since. I see. Maybe we can have them to rescue engines from their accidents. Indeed, Sonic, said Thomas. Well, that was my story. That's interesting, said Edward. So that's how you came to Sodor. What about you, Flying Scotsman? Well, this is just about you, Thomas. I will tell you guys my history next time. Oh, okay then, Flying Scotsman, said Percy. That's all right. Yes, that's all right with me, said Thomas. You always got next time. Say, Thomas, is there anything else we like to know about you? Well, said Thomas, I do know that I was shipped on a boat to Sodor, but many of my classes have been shipped to wrong islands by mistake. I see, said Sonic. Well, that was very interesting, Thomas. Thanks for telling us. You're welcome, Sonic, said Thomas. No problem. Well, that was my history, he said. Ever since I've been going to the Steamworks, when I came to the Steamworks, they repainted me and they gave me the number one. I felt very proud. And you know what they say, said Thomas. Wear the number one with pride. That's what Glenn told me. Don't you have a story too, Percy? You should tell Sonic and Knuckles and Flying Scotsman about Gator. Percy sighed for a moment. He knew what Thomas meant by Gator. Well, he paused and breathlessly. A couple of years ago, Thomas told me about a story where he found footprints up at the clay pits, but we weren't sure if it was real footprints or not. And I was taking the train with trucks to Vickerstown, and I saw an unusual monster shape coming through the fog, but I didn't know it was an engine until we saw it at the docks. Ah, yes, I see. I think the Fracastrola has told us about that. Yeah, I think I saw the engine somewhere. But where is he? Wondered Knuckles. He's probably somewhere in Sodor. That's for sure, said Sonic. But anyways, said Thomas. That's all I have for now. Then Thomas heard a whistle. Wait a second, I can hear some chuffy noises. Hey, it's Gator, cried Thomas. Indeed it was. Then Percy saw something behind Thomas. Hey, Thomas, who's that coming behind you? Thomas couldn't see, but Sonic and Knuckles did. There, behind Thomas, was the engine that Percy had met 4 years ago. Gator, cried Percy. What are you doing here in Sodor? Gator looked puzzled for a moment. He had a hard time speaking, then he spoke up. Oh, hello there, Percy. I haven't seen you in many years. How have you been doing? I've been doing great, Gator. What brings you to Sodor? Well, I was asked to look after some trains while an engine was getting repaired. I'm not sure who, but I'm glad to be back. Well, we're glad to have you here, Gator, said Sonic. We've never met an engine like you before. You remind me of Victor the Crocodile. Gator smiled. That is true. I do kind of look like an alligator, of course. At least most of my friends in my railway think that I look like an alligator. But I would like to meet this Victor. Well, I'm sure someday you will. I'll have to invite him to Sodor someday. Don't you agree, Knuckles? Yeah, I think so too, said Knuckles. Well then, anyways, thanks for telling us that story, Thomas. Me and Knuckles has gotta go now. We have very important things to do tomorrow. Alright then, said Thomas. Thanks for listening to my story. You're very welcome, Thomas. Well, good night, you two. Or good night all to you all. Good night, said Edward. Good night, said Gator. Good night, said the Flying Scotsman. Oh, I have to go now. But see you later, Sonic. It was a good story for you to tell, Thomas. Thank you. And goodbye, Sonic and Knuckles, called the Flying Scotsman. Goodbye, Flying Scotsman, called the engines. Goodbye, said Percy. Goodbye, said Thomas. Goodbye, said Edward. And with that, Sonic and Knuckles walked away. Thomas and his friends knew that Thomas was a very useful engine, and his story about how he came to Sodor was one of the greatest stories of all.